priority corridors, which really links with what Brian just talked about. Of course, we have the 11 corridors. We have 3 state, 3 county, and 5 city corridors. It equals over about 20 miles, and it captures 10% of our total KSIs just by doing 20 miles of improvements. Each of our corridor reports has 4 chapters, and so I just kind of listed the table appendix here. These were just submitted in June as draft, and so we're kind of currently in review and revision, hoping to finalize next month. So chapter 1 is really like kind of why are we doing this project? Number 2 is really what's the existing conditions and analysis. Chapter 3 is a summary of all the stakeholder coordination that we did, both public meetings, road safety audit, and the stakeholder coordination with our cities and county and state. And then chapter 4 is really the meat of it, is kind of what we propose. And it goes through all the proposed improvements, a cost estimate of that, the BCA that we just talked about, and kind of how we can tee it up for next steps. So with that, I'm going to run through the 11 corridors really quickly because I'm really proud of the work that we did. So Broward Boulevard, 95 to Northwest 1st in downtown Fort Lauderdale. We had 25 safety countermeasures proposed, 13 are corridor improvements, 12, another 12 are intersection. And as we talked about, a lot of these, we're trying to use the safe system approach. So redundancy is key. So at intersections, we have a lot of overlap, right? So flashing low turns, raised intersections, kind of putting all those things on top of each other in hopes of getting to 0 fatalities, right? This is our typical section that we proposed. No lane reduction because we have like 70,000 cars on our boulevard in the morning. It's crazy. But widen the sidewalks, kind of reassess the bike lane space into wider sidewalk space to create safer streets. And then the corridor, which is kind of small, I'm sorry, but for each of them, we did a concept that's engineered over an aerial with the right-of-way lines. And you can see all the improvements along the corridor where we aligned like bus stops with crosswalks. This is a good one where we had existing bus stops, but we added some mid-block crossings that are signalized, a lot of raised elements to get people to go the target speed of 30, 35 miles an hour. Obviously, you're in downtown. This reminder, this corridor is on the state's list of top deadliest bike and ped corridors, unfortunately. So really getting those speeds down as you enter downtown is key. Sterling Road is another FDOT corridor. Our corridor was 95 to US 1. On this one, we had 27 safety countermeasures proposed, 16 corridor, 11 intersection improvements. I'm just going to quickly go through these. This one had 2 segments. So from I-95 through the Dania Point development to Bryan Road, you can see the top intersection. So we kept the lanes because we've got those big developments on both sides, north and south. And then as you go east, we were able to repurpose the lane going east to US 1. You've got a residential area and be able to get those protected bike lanes, wide sidewalks with the tree lined. So that's the intent of Sterling. Here's the layout. You can see the interstate on the top left, and then Dania Point, and then that Oakwood Plaza is on the north and south as you get to Bryan Road, which is that first intersection that's like coral color. It's a raised intersection to kind of enter into the more residential local context. And then through there, you've got the 4 lanes, medians, offset sidewalks, tree-lined streets, raised intersections, raised crosswalks to connect transit. We've got kind of a wonky intersection at the railroad that we were able to tighten up. People are having issues stacking up on the train tracks and not being able to see the signals. So really tightening up that intersection there. And then, yeah, just really tightening everything up and being able to create a safer street. The third FDOT corridor is US 441 from Davie Boulevard north to Sunrise Boulevard. This is Fort Lauderdale on the east, Plantation on the west, and Lauderhill on the north. So we've got 3 cities. On this one, we've got 22 total safety countermeasures proposed, including 12 corridor wide and then another 10 intersection. Within this one, we have kind of 2 cross sections, very similar. We're keeping all 6 lanes. This corridor has a plan to have Primo transit on it. So we were aware of that. So there hopefully will be a bus priority lane at some point. But widen the sidewalks. The one on the bottom is to take the existing bike lanes and make them into wider sidewalks. So we're able to reprogram that space and then obviously keep the medians and narrow the lanes. And then this one's a little longer, so I've got 2 pages, but the top left is Davie Boulevard, and then you move north to the right. And really trying to add medians where we could to improve safety, add mid-block crossings, raise those crossings, align them with bus transit to try to get the speeds tempered just by trying to narrow everything up and then widen those sidewalks. So unfortunately, not enough space to put in landscape buffer between our sidewalks and our cars, but just trying to squeeze everything down and then get the speeds way down was the main goal here. And it goes all the way up to Sunrise Boulevard. You'll see on the right side of this screen, there's a trail that runs along the south side of Sunrise Boulevard. And so we've included the trail crossing as a proposal there to get people across safely. So then we move into our county corridors. So 31st Avenue is our longest corridor. It's about 5.2 miles from Northwest 8th Place, which is just south of Sunrise Boulevard, to McNabb Road. This touches 5 cities, if I can remember all of them. Fort Lauderdale, Lauderdale Lakes, Tamarack, Lauderhill, and who did I forget? Oakland Park. So, right? I'm looking at Karen. Is that right? So 5 cities. This one got packaged up by Broward County to propose for a Safe Streets for All implementation grant. So very excited about this one moving forward. This is unfortunately the riskiest street to travel on, Broward County Street to travel on currently, but hopefully not for long. We have 26 safety countermeasures proposed, 15 corridor wide, and then another 11 at intersections, of course, trying to get that redundancy at all those locations. Our typical sections, we had several because the right-of-way changed and then the opportunities changed, but basically trying to get really wide sidewalks, especially a consistent wide sidewalk shared use path on the west side of the street as you move north. In some areas, as you can see, we have dedicated bike lanes, so we kept those where they were. And then this one's really long, so I apologize, it's super small because it's 5 miles. And I didn't want to bore you with like 20 sheets. So, but overall, you can see we've laid out all the lanes, mid-block crossings, raised intersections, narrowed the lanes, added trees, and then all the technology. We have a school zone on this one, so proposing adding all the school zone amenities, proposing cameras, the new safety cameras as well. 19th Street is next. 19th Street is also a county corridor. I think my limits are completely wrong. I'm sorry. So the limits on this one are 43rd Terrace all the way to 31st Avenue. The corridor wide improvements, there's 14 and then another 10 intersection for a total of 24. So trying to get improved speeds basically is a big one here. We do have some trucks with some industrial here, so making sure that we're accommodating those turns. But on the 43rd to 441, there's actually an MPO county project that's being constructed right now. So that'll be the cross section you see on the top. And then from 441 east to 31st Avenue, basically we're going to take the shoulders, narrow bike lanes there now. So kind of take that space back and do really wide sidewalks on either side and then narrow everything up. Add trees. So here you can see on the top, the center is your 441 intersection. So we'll take it kind of from there to the east to 31st Avenue, add medians, add trees, raised intersections, raised crosswalks. We've got some speed tables as well. You can see the industrial along the north. So making sure that trucks can make that turning movement. So made sure we didn't block off anything with those medians, but trying to balance everything. All right. West Broward Boulevard is also another county corridor that's in the city of Plantation. Limits are Central Park Drive to University Drive. So this is a county corridor. West of University is not state, it's county. And here we have 24 safety countermeasures proposed, 13 corridor, 11 intersection. This corridor is where the city, the county offices are. If you guys have been to Broward County. The cross section is keeping the lanes, but basically narrowing them up. So you've got 10-foot inside, 11-foot outside for transit. And then by kind of squeezing everything together, we can create that space that's separated for bikes and peds. So we've got really a narrow landscape buffer. I think it says 3 feet. And then you can see the bike lane and the sidewalk are there. And trying to fit as many trees as possible to get that enclosure feel. This project, top left is Central Park Drive. You can see Central Park is on the north side there. And then as you go east, Pine Island, and then the mall, Broward Mall, is on the south as you go east on the bottom to University Drive. Again, medians, trees, aligning bus with raised crosswalks, a couple of raised intersections to really get those speeds down, speed radar signs, and then of course all the technology at the intersections. So, all right. So starting with city corridors, Royal Palm Boulevard is in the city of Margate. This project is Riverside to 441. We have 23 safety countermeasures proposed on this corridor, 14 corridor, another 9 intersection. This one is 4 lanes existing, but really, really wide lanes and a very wide median. So we're able to kind of reallocate the space from the median to create 2 landscape buffers on the sides is how we did it. So no new right away, just taking that space, reallocating the space. So you can see we got protected bike lanes and sidewalks on both sides on the corridor from Riverside to Rock Island. And then when you get to Rock Island going east, there's these frontage roads that exist. So our thought was we'll use the frontage roads that are very low volume as our parallel bike facilities and keep, the bikes and the peds separated and then just narrow up the street to do some traffic calming. And these are the concepts. So you can see a lot of green is kind of shifting to either side. Right now there's a really wide median. And then here we just did spot improvements. So we just showed the aerial with the spot improvements. So you can see kind of some intersections and some raised crosswalks, some median tips. Rock Island is another corridor in City Margate. Our limits are Southgate Boulevard to Royal Palm. This one has 22 safety countermeasures, similar to Royal Palm. It's a similar suburban context. So 13 corridor, 9 intersection. This one also has that frontage road, as you can see on the top. So you've got kind of this frontage road feel. So kind of putting the bikes there. And then as you move south, the frontage road drops. And so really creating those wide separated spaces for the pedestrians and then narrowing up all the lanes. Speed is really a big deal on Rock Island and Royal Palm. You would think because it's in the suburbs that there would be less people crashing, but there's a lot of crashes here. And the speeding is evident when you're out there. So this one starts at Southgate Boulevard, which is kind of not a square intersection, as you can tell. So making sure the turning movements work for the vehicle types. We tightened up that northbound right turn was kind of a high-speed right. So we put some curvature in it to try to slow that down. And then you can see just north of Southgate Boulevard, there's a canal crossing. So we proposed adding a trail crossing there with a raised crosswalk and a signal there. And then as you move north from there, it's really narrowing up the lanes and then creating really wide shared use paths on both sides. And as you move north, north of 6th Court on the bottom there's this really big swath of green. And we understand that's an FPL easement. And the city has an agreement. So we're able to kind of widen our trail onto that easement, which was really useful. And then this goes all the way up to Royal Palm Boulevard. So it intersects actually with the other project that we did. The next corridor is Sistrunk Boulevard in the city of Fort Lauderdale and partially in Broward County from 27th Avenue to Andrews Avenue. Sistrunk Boulevard, unfortunately, is the riskiest city street in Broward County. So a lot to do here. We proposed 25 safety countermeasures, 14 corridor, 11 intersection. The city and the county have done a lot of work on the trunk over the years. So some of these improvements you'll see listed are already there. Wide sidewalks is one of them. They're already there. But I wanted to make sure we were giving you a holistic list, but I'm not trying to take credit. So good job to the city and the county already for doing a lot here, but it's still really risky. So what else can we do? This one's really narrow already. On the west end, which is the county jurisdiction from 27th to like 22nd-ish. It's 4 lanes right now. We kept it 4 lanes, but tried to just squeak the lanes a little tighter so we could widen the sidewalks and try to separate those sidewalks. And then in the city section, 22nd over to Andrews, you've got 3 lanes for most of it. And so really trying to squeeze it again, but it's really tight already. We noticed we went out there, there's 9 and 10-foot lanes already. So really the improvements that are key on this one are going to be the lighting is a huge issue out there. It's really dark at night. They have decorative lighting, and some of the lights have already been retrofitted to have a brighter fixture, but most of them haven't been. So I think that's hopefully an easy intermediate fix for us. Also adding some more traffic calming, because hopefully if there is a crash in the future, if speeds are lower, hopefully it won't be fatal, right? So adding raised crosswalks. The city is already proposing 5 new crosswalks on this corridor. I think those are going in maybe as soon as this year. No, soon. Okay. So I'd really love to get this finished, so maybe you can raise them, Karen, wink, wink. So we can get some traffic calming and then maybe raise some intersections. One thing, we had both of our public meetings at the YMCA, that's right in the middle of the corridor. And that's really a community center, and you've got a lot of people walking to that center, but yet there's really no intersection control at that intersection where people are coming from the south to get to the YMCA on the north. And so we proposed kind of a tabletop speed table for the length of the face of the YMCA. So it's like a shared street in front of the YMCA. So it's traffic calming and pedestrian safety there. So a lot of improvements proposed on this one, but we were scratching our heads because it's already narrow, right? It only has a few lanes right now. So really, how do we add more safety and get creative on this one? So lighting will be key, and safety, safe speeds will be key on this one. Southwest 10th Street is a corridor in Deerfield Beach. This one is a city corridor east of I-95 over to Dixie Highway. This one we proposed 22 safety countermeasures, 15 corridor, 7 intersection, and this one we actually proposed roundabouts. So I'm really excited that we got to do something a little bit different on this one. This one also is 6 lanes east of the interstate, but the volumes showed that they would warrant a repurposing to 4. So we gave them an opportunity to reallocate that space to create protected bike and ped opportunities with tree-lined corridors on both sides. And then this is the beautiful roundabouts. So west of here, I'm sure all of you know, we have the Southwest 10th Interchange Expressway project. And that'll tie in right at where it says begin project. And the good news is that the engineer who designed this project is also leading that project. So hopefully we'll get some, what do we say? Some synchronization between the two, because he's, yes, being thoughtful of like what to design there. But the intent there is they're going to do a 4-lane like local street on Southwest 10th west of here. And then the expressway functions will be separate. So those 4 lanes will tie right into these 4 lanes was the intent. So giving the city an opportunity to redesign it. And then we did preliminary lane repurposing analysis. And then we also did preliminary roundabout analysis too, to justify these. And then we were able to get creative with the geometry to fit it within the right of way. So really excited about this one. This one was also packaged as part of an SS4A implementation grant to USDOT. So fingers crossed we get both. Taft Street is next in the city of Hollywood. The project limits are 70th Terrace to US 441. This one has 23 safety countermeasures proposed, 12 corridor, 11 intersection. This one, we had entertained a lane repurposing and then met with the politicians and they were kind of on the fence to move forward on that. We had like some for, some against. So we kept the 4 lanes to proceed in the corridor report. So really about slowing speeds, adding medians was a big push from the city because access management was kind of a mess here with the commercial on the north. And then aligning our crosswalks with our bus infrastructure and then raising those crosswalks. So trying to create space for pedestrians to cross safely. This area has a lot of like working class families, and then you've got all the commercial on the north, and then you've got schools on the south. So a lot of people wanting to be able to just walk across the street instead of having to drive. That was the need that we heard at the public meetings. Oh, and here's our typical section. So at the top is the proposed 4-lane, and then I snuck in the 2-lane scenario. Sorry, Rick. Yeah, he was very supportive, so thank you to the commissioner. All right, so I got through 11 corridors in a few minutes. Next steps, as I said, we're updating these corridor reports right now. I'm hoping to submit those final next month. And then Fazil and James are going to take this to the MTP to integrate those for programming in November. So they'll be reaching out to all the cities to get your resolution of support. Is that the right word?
That is correct.
Okay. So they'll be calling you.
Yeah, so something else regarding these concepts. These are not the final concepts. Those are concepts from our second round of reviews. So those concepts are going to be the consultant team is starting to work on finalizing them. We will be bringing these concepts to the September meeting. We're gonna kind of have like an open house, so you all can actually see it rather than trying to squint your eyes and try to find it on the screen. We're also going to have all this information also posted on our website. And for some of the corridors that we decided to move forward with, even through our MTP process, there are some roadways, regardless of how you want to do your prioritization, or if you do different types of prioritization, that still bubble up to the top. Like Sistrunk was one of them. Sistrunk has consistently been a road of concern that's had a lot of severe crashes. I think 31st Avenue on different types of prioritization situations have also been very high up there in terms of severe crashes. So it's kind of interesting how through this process that we saw some similarities with some of the analysis that's been done in the past. And then now we're going to quiz you all on how many safety countermeasures is on Taft Street. Does anyone remember? No? Oh, 24. Okay. I don't even know if that's the right answer.
Close. See, 23. You're almost, she was so close. Yeah.
Exactly. 20 something. So let's just remember that.
Okay. Well, then I need the lane repurposing. Then I can add that.